Looks like we're live now.
Hey, people.
Oh, there are three people here. Look at that. One, two, three.
Hey, guys.
1 a.m. South African time. No. It's 5 p.m. South African time, right? It is 9 a.m. here in the U.S. and uh, the Central Standard Time in the U.S. Good morning, well, good afternoon to the four people who are on. Hmm. Now the seven people. We'll wait. Hi, family. Good morning or good afternoon.
Yeah, it's
It's
morning
morning
for
for
us.
us. Yeah, it's morning for us. What's happening? What's happening? Afternoon, Jesse. Dr. James, what's going on? What's happening?
Josh, good
Josh, what's happening, my brother? What's
morning.
going on? Y'all up early. Early in the morning, I jump shot. It's 10:07 in Delaware. All right, well, good morning. That's that East Coast time. All right.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. We'll wait for a few more people to get in here and then I'll start running off at the mouth. And hopefully.
Let's start running our mouths.
Mm.
Uh,
I hope everyone's had a pleasant weekend. And yeah, it's the weekend always feels so short. We need at least 2 more days in this weekend thing. Yeah, we need at least 2 more days because I'm right back at work in a few hours.
right.
You know? So Warren G, what's going on? Man, Warren G sent me a picture of his baby, man. His daughter is beautiful.
You got to show me that. I want to see it.
Oh, I'll
I
show
want
it
to
to
see
you.
the pic.
Yeah.
I love a good
Morning from
baby
Richmond,
pic.
Virginia. Hey, how about everybody do? I like that. Uh, well, there's only 14 people in the chat right now, so that's in the room right now, so that's cool. Want everybody tell us where you calling from? I will put the link, and yeah. So he said he'd put the link, but I got it in my phone here.
Yeah, we want to see the baby.
Oh, look, just somebody just told me I'm live.
Super cool.
All right.
Yeah, we know. Let's see. David. We got someone in from
Shit.
Delaware. Oh,
Yeah.
Warren, she's such a doll.
Yeah. Look at those cheeks.
I know, how cute.
He said, Warren, I'm about to put your business out here. He said he'd be 61. You started over. Big facts. 61 years old. Miss PLC. Miss PLC, I'm about to send you an email when this is over so we could do our Zoom. Hopefully we could do it, well,
soon.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
All right. Right.
All right, we got Dallas, Texas. Oh, yeah, that's Josh. Shout out to Dallas, Texas.
Well, we know that.
Let's see. Good afternoon,
It is
South
cold.
Africa,
It is
Pretoria.
cold.
Jesse from Cape Town in the house. We gotta show Cape Town a little more love. We gotta go back, right?
Yes, I don't know if we'll be able to do it this coming time because that's a
real quick
in and out,
turnaround.
handle some
Yeah,
business, but
but
definitely we'll be going back over there
I think we got
full time.
When we went to Cape Town the first time, we got I told if you guys watch some of the other videos, I said we got the kind of touristy area where we stayed. It felt, just felt different. I saw some things that really bothered me, but
It just felt different.
it felt different. And then we went to Josie, and it was like, bam, this is it. It's live.
But Josh and his wife left Cape Town.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I don't think we experienced. I mean, we went to Table Mountain.
We hung around a little bit.
Not really. We went to Table Mountain. We went to V&A Waterfront. Bismillah. They got a phenomenal restaurant called Bismillah in the Bocap area of Cape Town. Yeah. And so we went there. But I can't, I think that's it. So I know it's much, much more to see and do in Cape Town. I think we just fell in love with Josie so quick that it was just like, no, we need to keep going back to Johannesburg. But
well, and then that's where our investments were.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kept us focused.
Yeah,
definitely kept us focused. So what's on your mind today, Asad?
Man,
what's on your mind today? What you want to get into?
You know what I was thinking about is the fact that, and we often have this conversation of trying to convince people to come to or visit South Africa or visit the continent in general. But I do think that in our immediate circle,
Mhm.
once we go, we'll be like Lewis and Clark. Y'all know who Lewis and Clark? I know my American people, but if y'all know Lewis,
That
so
is
Lewis and
sad.
Clark are the individuals who explored, was it the Louisiana Territory?
I think.
They, they explored maybe even the West with Pocahontas. I may be confusing my
I
American
don't
history.
know.
Yeah,
I don't
I don't know if
know.
she was Pocahontas was with them, but
I
Lewis
don't
and
think
Clark.
so.
I thought so. I
For
thought so.
real?
Check it out.
You're
So
more of the history man than I
so
am.
Lewis and Clark, I know they were explorers,
I'm gonna look it up.
right? And I'm not saying that going to Africa is like exploring. But what I'm saying is once in our immediate circle, once we actually go and once we actually move in June, I think more people will follow suit definitely to at least visit, right? Because I'm having a tough time getting people to even want to visit. So this March, like for instance, when we came back this trip, and initially Adrienne wasn't going to go back in March
Yeah.
because literally when she returns the very next week she has to be in Los Angeles, right? So there's like bang 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 right there.
We pushed it up a week.
Yeah,
That's what allowed me to go.
yeah. So she'll be in, yeah. So 2 weeks later, whatever have you,
Mhm.
she'll be in Los Angeles. So that's a lot. Just a lot on the physical body. So I was like, well, let me see if I can get some other folk or my partners or friends or whatever have you to go with me. And I mean, I was telling Adrienne last night at dinner. I was like, yeah, I send out. I'm on this group thread, a text message thread with friends
Mhm.
from college. Like these are
Yeah.
my best friends, and they'll send out information on stocks. They'll send out
Crypto.
crypto. Right, they'll send out information on on who won the football game. Some of these brothers from California, some of these brothers from Texas. So I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
last week Dallas played San Francisco. So this was just all the, I mean, the
Yeah.
text messages was bling 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 bling, and all of this stuff going back and forth about Dallas and San Francisco. They
Right.
send out all kind of stuff. And the moment I said, hey man, I need somebody. I said, man, who wants to go to South Africa in March? It went dead.
With silence.
I would like to. Are these even my friends? It went completely silent. And the strangest thing is that, like, one of these brothers is from Africa. A couple of them, like
Right.
Ghana and Eritrea.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
brother's actually from Africa. But it went silent, and the again, the whole excuse is always like, I don't know, man, my money funny. But then, like I said, you see them, they're flying to Houston.
Right.
They're
They're
flying
in the
to
Caribbean
Atlanta. They're in the
somewhere.
Caribbean. It's just like, it's the weirdest thing, brothers. So,
Yes, Warren G says we have to do more videos on the ground to show the reality, and that's true. But you know what else I've been noticing? I feel like there's just so when we first traveled to South Africa, this whole Black American back to Africa travel movement was popping, but more like Ghana, Tanzania, and
yeah.
now there's so much more YouTube content showcasing
Mhm.
South Africa. So I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
For the one that's interested.
And
You
you know
can
what
find
else?
it.
I think that um yeah, I wanna make sure I say this right.
Uh-oh.
I think that um hoteps. Y'all know what a hotep is?
They may not.
South African family. If you know what a hotep is, let us know in the comment what a hotep is. So a hotep is a derogatory term that originates with the name Imhotep, who was one of our an Egyptian multi-genius, right? Imhotep was an Egyptian multi-genius. Shout out Josh. He said he'll be back on the 28th of June.
Whoop, whoop.
And he headed to Germany. Okay, cool. Well,
we love it.
God willing, we will be there. We will be there. But Imhotep was this Egyptian multi-genius. He was like an architect, a physician. He designed a pyramid. He was just like this genius. When the commissions, these people call them, followers of Kemet science and Egyptologists, Afrocentric Egyptologists picked up on this knowledge like in the 70s and 80s, and learned more about who Imhotep was. They kind of went radical with the interpretation of what they were finding, right?
Yeah.
And those individuals became known as like Hotep. So it's a derogatory term, and it's like, we got to go to Africa, my brother, because we are the original man. I'm changing my name to, just crazy stuff, or whatever have you. So they took and they made the kind of idea of going to Africa, and they made it corny. Can I say that?
Think so. I mean, it made it seem like it was definitely.
It's not for cool people, not for just cool regular people. A lot of times, maybe it's just my age group, because the younger people, we say this all the time.
They're doing it.
They're doing it. Like the millennials. We were in Morocco and we saw the young ladies. They were getting their angles on like Drake or whatever have you. So, but
lots of selfies.
The people in our age, I'm 43. So the people in my age group, I think it's kind of two camps, because the hip hop, the Hoteps kind of come out of that hip hop movement too. But they're just not cool. And then they don't really, and from a scholar or academician point of view, sometimes their facts or ideas are just totally off, So we need to show more business videos on business development, education, social and rural areas. Yeah, definitely. The Bennett's will be and
March
essay
2019. Yeah, there's gonna be some overlap.
There's gonna be overlap, cool. So initially our flight was on the 11th and we would be there on the 12th. And then out of the blue, the airline canceled everything. Right? COVID is really making it very, very tricky to plan a trip. So as of now, our reservation is March 12th, the very next day instead of the 11th.
Yeah.
But so we definitely have some overlap when we're there. And so Doc, we're gonna have to link up. Definitely. We're working on some things. We actually found two places that we are interested in. And I think we have made some we're negotiating rental price. Everybody else negotiating the buy. We're negotiating rental price. Like I think that's too high. And one thing, Donald Trump wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. This is before he was a lunatic president. This is when he was just a businessman. And the art of the deal. You always want to negotiate, right? So we're kind of negotiating these rental prices or these monthly rental payments. And hopefully we'll be able to, man, let me tell y'all something about good people. I got to take this time. So if y'all saw the last video that we posted with Brother Greg, right? The last video that we posted with Brother Greg, a lot of people say it's hard to find a good man. It's hard to find a good woman. I always say it's hard to find good people, period. But let me tell you about Brother Greg. So we've known him, I guess, about maybe a year now since we first met in SA, kind of followed him on Facebook or whatever have you. So I interviewed him the other day, and after we got off the phone, I said, the Zoom call ended, the recording, we were still talking. And I was like, yeah, man, so this place, and just let me know, can you tell me about the area? He was like, brother, I would feel more comfortable if you allow me to go see the place. I said, man, you would do that for me? Definitely, brother, no problem. So I'll go see the place. I'll take pictures. I will, take pictures of the entrance, of the grounds, and everything. So he actually met the real estate agent there for us for a property that we were looking at, or that we are looking at, and did the tour there and reported back. I thought that was phenomenal. And he offered to do this.
Yeah, he offered. That's really nice.
That is amazing. We
could have done it just with the agent. She probably would have just walked us through, but
you really can't see the dirt in the corner. with somebody just walking, on the
Yeah, like they
video.
can point to the better looking
Hmm.
corners.
So
That
that
was
was so.
very
Shout
nice.
out to Greg. Yeah, to Greg for that, man. I appreciate. So it just kind of how can we say it? It reminds us, right, that there are still very good people
Right.
on this planet still after dealing with some horrible people. I deal with horrible people in my line of work.
Mm, mm.
Yes, the cultural community in America, especially the elders, did not prepare to make the transition to Africa. I think in the second wave of I think we
We
are
are in
in
the
the
second
second
wave of
wave of repatriation.
repatriation.
I love Brother Greg's commentary. Yeah, he great commentary. My homie Brother G, a great brother from America living in SA,
Yes.
definitely. Now, hello, family from Edward. Edward, shout out to Edward. Um, yeah, so let's talk about the second wave or third wave of repatriation, the fourth wave, whatever have you. I was watching, we were watching, what is the amendment?
Amend.
Amend on Netflix
Netflix.
with our
Yep.
children last night. So if you're not familiar with Amend, it just kind of gives, uh,
It's all about the 14th Amendment,
right,
but it goes, yeah,
it just
it's
gives a
this long
whole
line of how the 14th
amendment
Amendment
develop.
impacts different groups
Right,
and
and
it's
the
supposed to
14th
help.
Amendment is what?
I know it's equal equal justice under the law. It
Yeah.
expanded citizenship officially to all members of the U.S. society.
So as I always say, I've theorized and pontificated on this many times. Black Americans are not citizens of the United States. We are citizens in language only. Why do I say that? First of all, in a citizen representative democracy, the greatest tool in that democracy is what?
Um, Voting.
The right to vote.
I hate being on a live with an old teacher. I feel like I'm on the spot. Is what? What if I get it wrong? People are watching.
It is the right to vote. Right? It is the right to vote. The greatest tool, the way that you can be characterized as a citizen in a representative democracy is the vote. Now, let's look at it. What?
You got a dissenter. Don says he does not agree. You got to be joking. So you have to break this down to Don.
Tell me you're joking. I don't know. Maybe that might be about something else. Okay. But the greatest tool in a representative democracy is the vote, right? And maybe it's talking about us not being citizens.
Right.
So here in the United States, there had been, I think it was at least two amendments and one voting rights act. And now we have even the John Lewis, I forget the actual name of the act that is currently in place, in order to protect the vote of whom? Not white Americans, but Black Americans. Why is it that white Americans in Iowa and North Dakota and Mississippi or wherever have no concern about their vote being under attack? It's because white people's vote. White people are born citizens. They don't concern themselves with having. White people don't need a voting rights act. White people didn't need an amendment to vote. Maybe white women, right?
I was gonna say,
yeah, white women, right? But at this point, white women don't need an act. They don't need an amendment. They don't need any of that to know that their vote is guaranteed. All they have to do is stay out of prison, right? All they have to do is stay out of prison, because some states have these funny laws where if you get arrested for a felony, you lose your right to vote for a period of time. But Black folk, every year, we have to continue to fight for our right to vote. Hence, by proxy, we are fighting for our right to maintain citizenship. The idea that you lose your right to vote, Huh? You maintain the citizenship. The
Yeah.
idea that you lose your right to vote when you become a convicted felon is also by design to adversely affect black people. They started criminalizing vagrancy.
Yeah.
What is a vagrant? Standing around. You ain't got no job. Here we are dealing with double digit unemployment, and vagrancy is against the law.
Mm.
Right? So we have been attacked by the criminal justice system in many vicious and strange ways. Why? Because that also strips us of this right to vote. So I say again that we are citizens in word only and language only. Citizens, I saw something, and many people can attest to this. I saw something that um, uh, a police officer pulled over this white man. We know the story. He pulled over this white man, asking for his license and registration. He was like, for what? You know, and they had this exchange, and he's like, I'm not showing you my license. Look, I wasn't speeding.
Right.
Get away from my truck. They had a little back and forth. After that, the police walked away. Okay, buddy. Tapped his car and got it and rode away. See, that's a citizen.
Yeah.
That's a citizen. That he wouldn't dare pull his gun and fire upon a citizen. He wouldn't dare venture to what to assault or violate his what do they call them, civil rights, right? His citizen rights, right?
Right.
For us, that could end in a thing. But anyway, we were watching the men. I went on a long.
But no, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't been able to fully realize the privileges of citizenship, nor have
That's
we been
right.
able to fully realize the protections of citizenship.
Right. We never realized the
Right?
protections.
So hundreds of years past, Emancipation Proclamation, Civil Rights Movement, we were never protected.
Mhm. Somebody
To
says,
this day, we're still not.
I'm sorry, babe.
Mhm.
Okay, I see. So through criminalization, Dr. Saad, what about changing the culture? America is just exploiting dysfunction of our people. They're even doing it to poor whites with the opioid crisis. Let me tell you about the opioid crisis. Then I want to get back to the other point, but let me tell you about the opioid crisis. So y'all know I got about 15 jobs. One of my jobs, one of my jobs is going around the country virtually, speaking to different. I speak to mayors, city managers, um, community people, um, DAs, and prosecutors and judges all across the United States. Brooklyn Center, Amherst, Atlanta, Chicago, Philly, San Francisco, all across the U.S. About what? About a new model of community policing, right? So this new model is called the community responder model. It is born out of the 2020 movement for Black Lives post the death of George Floyd, when individuals were asking to defund the police. Well, this was a way of dressing that language up, because defund the police does not work. That language does not work, right? It's not palatable to too many people.
Yeah.
But a community responder model is this. And for low-level crimes like, or low-level calls, or certain calls to 911, when someone says, "Oh, there's a suspicious person. He doesn't look like he has a gun," or "He looks like he's talking to himself." Instead of sending out police, you send out a social worker, or maybe an EMS. Someone says, "Hey, there's someone sleeping in their car," or "My neighbors are upstairs and they're making too much noise and music is too loud." Do you really need to send an armed police officer out for that? No, you don't. Um, Low level. Well, what does this have to do with the opioid crisis? This comes from the community responder. This community responder model comes from the George Floyd issue. Under that is also the decriminalization, which is taking place in DC, Vermont, all over the country. They're decriminalizing personal use drugs.
Drug use.
Not marijuana. All drugs. All drugs. Well, why? Because it's a public health crisis. Drug use is a public health crisis. But in the 80s, the crack epidemic, when it was black and brown bodies being affected by crack, it was a criminal justice issue. And they locked up our brothers, they locked up our uncles, they locked up our grandfathers and our fathers, and they put them in our cousins and Ray and all our people. They locked them up for 20 and 30 and 40 years for possession of crack cocaine, because it was such a violent and horrible drug that made people do all of these mean and cruel things, right? Well, when white folk got addicted to opiate, what was the drug? Oxycontin. When white folks started getting, and doctors started writing all these prescriptions for Oxycontin, and all of a sudden we have an opioid crisis in the United States, and white boys who were 15 and 16 years old are now heroin addicts. It's no longer a criminal justice issue. There's no war on drugs. That's why we're able to go around the country telling people, hey, let's decriminalize. And we're not getting pushback. You're getting white Republicans from Mississippi saying, yeah, I think it's a great idea, because your grandson is strung out on heroin now, on opioids, right? Now it's a public health issue. Now we can think outside of the box. We just don't want to lock people up. We now want to treat them. Now we want to what? Harm reduction. Yeah. Now we want to have needle exchanges in communities where, and also when black folk was high on crack, they would arrest us, lock us up in jail, right? And when they saw us walking down the street and looking like Smokey and Debo's chicken coop, when they would lock us up in jail, right? Now when our white brothers and sisters are high, walking down the street, they don't go to jail. They go to they got a place called the living room. The living room. Right.
Somewhere, get them cleaned up.
Take them somewhere, let them sleep. Sure give them some coffee. Yeah, make sure they're not high on the street. That's because when the citizens started having a drug crisis, then we need to address this in a certain way. But when those second-class citizens or black folk or citizens in language only had a drug crisis, it was lock them up, throw away the key. Right, a war on drugs.
Invade homes in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
Patrol neighborhoods.
So now look at all the brothers and sisters who are sitting in jail for 30, 40 years. And now we have to address this. We got to look at this from an equity standpoint. And hey, these brothers need to be released. But they've already lost 30 years. Would you think they'll come out and go to med school? They lost 30 years, right? For possession. The majority of black men who are in prison in the United States, contrary to the images that you see on TV, the majority of black men who are in prison in the United States are in prison for non-violent drug crimes. Yeah. They ain't killed nobody. They was either selling drugs or possessing drugs, right? Now, in 26 states across the union, maybe even more now, 26 states for sure, and several other jurisdictions, marijuana possession is completely decriminalized, or it is to the point where I just read an article right here in New Orleans the other day that the NOPD, the New Orleans Police Department, would not even ticket you for possession of marijuana if there's no other crime involved. Now, if you got weed and a gun, it's different. But if you just got some weed, I ain't even worried about it. Now, go ahead, smoke the weed. People, you go down to Bourbon Street, man, you used to be crazy if you think you would walk down Bourbon Street smoking weed. Right? Bourbon Street is in our French Quarter. It's the biggest touristy thing. You would never think that individuals would be down there smoking weed because there's too many police officers. Now you walk down there and all you smell is marijuana. Right? So that's the difference in the citizenship roles. The real citizens will get the type of resources from the government of the United States to assist them when they are in need. The perceptions of their situation when they're battling demons is very different than what took place with black folk. And keep in mind, the CIA, shout out to them, gave us crack. Let's read some comments we have here, because I know that's the beauty of the dialogue going live. All right, I gotta go up a little. Oh, okay. All of it? Okay. Yeah. Tell me joking. I also laughed out loud at Adrienne's statement. Oh,
about getting called out with the question.
Shout out to Easy. Hey, listen, life
Let me think.
life is a lesson. Life is a classroom. Life, listen, y'all always be asking, Brother Side, Dr. Side, you want to teach and you should be at the university. If y'all know somebody that wants me at their university, I'll send you my CV and you let me know. Y'all know my asadelmalik at Gmail. I'll send you my stuff. Send me an email. I would love to teach. Break it down, please, Asad. I am very reluctant to believe this. Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully I broke it down. I could break down some more about our second class citizenship now. The camera is a bit blurry. Let me see. That looked like it made it worse. My hands are greasy.
Didn't we address this last time?
Yeah, let me see. The camera's a bit blurry. I don't know what to do. Let me see if I can.
We working with what was left.
Did that help? I don't think so.
No.
All right.
It's just the camera. It's gonna be a little grainy.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is a cheap HP computer. This is a computer I use for work. It's very small. It could fit in my briefcase. And man, and voting rights in the U.S. are currently in jeopardy for Black and brown people. Always, every year. Why every 20 years or 25 years we have to concern, not every year we have to concern ourselves with our voting rights. Because if they're not trying to deconstruct the Voting Rights Act, they are then redistricting, and they are what do you call them, purging rolls.
Yeah.
So I registered to vote, right? And not me per se, but an individual registered to vote in Georgia or in Texas. He's there, but he doesn't vote every time it comes around. He didn't want to go and vote for Donald Trump or whomever, and so he just doesn't vote. So he didn't vote for the last 5 years. They say, well, he's no longer registered to vote. What? What? How does your registration expire? So then they would purge these roles. Oh, this person hasn't voted in 5 years. This person hasn't voted in 10 years. Maybe they just don't want to vote, right? Maybe they are very cynical about American politics, right? So they just don't vote. But how do you unregister them? You see what I'm saying? Right. That is very strange. But that's our voting rights are always under attack, Brother Josh. How is that? I am South African. I am confused. Yeah.
Yes, it's going back before you started getting.
Yeah, okay. It's probably a webcam on a laptop. Exactly. It's a webcam on a laptop. Big facts. Ding, ding. Double-digit unemployment in America in Black communities. Yeah, I think currently right now the unemployment for Black Americans is about 7 to 8%. So, and then if you look specifically at Black males, it may be like 19% or something outrageous. And if you look in this city, this is God honest facts, people. God honest facts. In the city of New Orleans, right? And in places like Detroit and Chicago, but in New Orleans for sure, Black male unemployment is pushing 60%. 60% of Black men, nearly 60% of Black men in the city of New Orleans, right, are unemployed. And then we wonder why we have crime that is totally out of control. Yeah, out of control. Carjackings, murders, right? We ran into a friend of mine. He is a homicide detective. And he was just flabby. He lost all kind of weight. You can tell he's stressed. He's like, God, dog. He ain't even getting sleep. They killing at 2, at 8 o'clock in the morning out here, and he was just the police department? He is the lead homicide detective. So he's seeing bodies after bodies every day. But this is the result. Aristotle said that poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. We don't have revolution yet, but we sure have the crime, right? When you have all of these Black men unemployed in one city, or when you look at the percentage of Black men unemployed in the United States, you understand that what comes next will be crime. People have to feed themselves, right? The opportunity, they start weighing the opportunity cost of getting involved in something illegal. because at the end of the day, they still have rent to pay. They
Yeah.
still have to eat. They still want to take care of their children. Contrary to popular demand, black men love their children and want to provide for them in whatever way they can. And that's one part of it. But there is, when we start talking about this crime,
What's the
no,
other part?
we also have to talk about a culture for the last 30 years in Black America, particularly in hip hop music, that has glorified violence,
Mhm.
glorified drug dealing, glorified criminality. And it's not even in hip hop anymore. I was listening to Neo. Neo, y'all remember Neo?
The singer, the
The
R&B
singer.
singer.
Yes. Who
Yeah.
always wear a hat. I think something wrong with his head because he stay with a hat on. Stay with something. Maybe his
It's
head
like a
shaped
hat.
funny. But
Maybe he's losing hair and he's not ready to
gonna call it what it is.
unveil the
Man,
truth.
listen, big facts. So he dropped a new song maybe about a month ago, and I just happened to hear it
Neo?
yesterday. Neo, and
Oh,
in
I'm
the
tired.
song, now Neo went from singing like these beautiful love
Yeah, love
ballads,
songs and stuff.
and I don't want to go to sleep if you're mad. I don't want to go to bed if you're mad. Just a very nice,
Right.
song, right? Now the song is like, stay down because I know if I go to prison, you're gonna put some money on my books. Neo, you're not a gangster.
You're not a
You're not a
criminal? I
criminal,
hope.
right? At least not that kind of criminal. You're in
Right.
Hollywood, so them people weird. However, you're not a gangster. But even our love songs now
Mm.
have to involve criminality. You gonna hold a pistol and hold me down and
Hold the bag.
hold the bag and put money on my books and I'll catch a body for you. What? This is what we're singing about when we're singing to our woman. When I'm singing to when I want to get intimate with my wife, I don't
You
want to
don't
hear
need to
about,
sing to me.
yeah. When I'm getting intimate with my wife or being close, I'm not talking sex, just being intimate, close. I don't need to hear about your shotgun. I don't want to hear about shotguns. I don't want to hear about drugs. I definitely don't want to hear about prison.
Mm-mm.
Ain't nothing sexy about prison, right? But
Right.
this type of criminality has become cultural in many segments of Black America,
Yeah.
in our subcultures, not our greater culture, right? In our subculture, and it's very weird to me. So
Mm.
this combination of criminality,
Lack of opportunity.
lack of opportunity,
Right.
and cultural criminality being produced by and
Mm.
marketed by hip hop music has had detrimental effects on all of Black
On
America.
all of us.
Okay.
Sad, sad, sad.
What about changing the culture? So I'm glad she mentioned that because lawmakers are
She got in it.
finding loopholes in the system to suppress the black votes. I'm sure Dr. Sal will break it down more clearly. He's acutely aware of this issue. Absolutely. I liked your last video. Thank you. I like the fact that you watched it. America is
I liked it
rough.
too.
This is some stuff we don't hear about in South Africa. Texas for, oh, thanks. I saw TX. Thanks for sharing these facts about the U.S. All of us out here in Africa want to emulate the American system, not realizing it's fundamentally built to oppress. Big facts. Big facts. Big facts. It's America. What is her name? I'm about to look her up.
Ooh,
It
what?
is a professor at she's at Wiley College.
It's not
And
Michelle.
no,
Mm.
no, no, no. This sister
Oh,
is
right.
she wrote a book on Booker T. Washington. She's a Pan-African.
Hmm.
And she wrote a book on Booker T. Washington. And but in that book, she makes this statement, and I just thought it was phenomenal. Or something else that I want to talk about. Um, what you guys? Where is this statement? Tyrene Wright, Dr. Tyrene Wright. She says America has always been an expression of white male nationalism.
Mm.
That's what America is. An expression of white male nationalism, and then white male nationalism and a white male nationalist expression. There's no need for black folk other than to subjugate us and make us into
Yeah.
subjects of the state.
Exploit.
Exploit, right? So Definitely. But this is something that you pointed out.
Yeah.
We'll get to that shortly. Let's read these comments. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Don Parker, we the majority, so stuff like this won't fly. Absolutely. It won't fly in SA. Um, is it a good thing those citizens openly smoking weed in public? No. So y'all know, let me be clear. I don't smoke weed. Y'all used to see me on my little vape pen. And I noticed y'all haven't seen that because actually stopped. But I stopped maybe
I'm glad you did.
25 days ago.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke weed. I haven't done that in years. I don't drink alcohol, right? Don't do anything that will get me intoxicated besides drink this coffee. And I'm actually trying to stop that, slow down on it because too much caffeine is not good either. Um, so here's a complicated thing that I'm about to say.
Uh-oh.
What?
What? What's
Oh,
complicated?
I thought something happened. Here's a complicated thing that I'm about to say. I think drugs are very, very, very bad. I don't think people should be even drinking alcohol, but I don't judge people. I live in a city where everyone drinks. In fact, when I tell people I don't drink, I'm the person that seems like the weirdo, right? I'm the weirdo because I don't drink. It's fine. However, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't think any individual should be doing these things,
Yeah.
doing drugs at all. Now here's the complicated part. I think they all should be. I think all drugs should be legal. Now, how does that coincide? Because I don't think anyone should go to jail for smoking weed. I don't think anyone should go to jail for drinking alcohol unless you're getting behind the wheel of a car killing somebody. It is your body. You should, if you don't have agency over your own body, to what you want to put, because I don't want to put it in my body. I should have no control over what you want to put in yours. If you want to drink, that's on you. If you want to shoot up, that's on you. That's your body.
Mm.
I don't think anybody should be twice and boosted. I don't know why. I'm boosted. I'm vaxxed and boosted. But I will never support any regulation or any a law that says it's mandatory. No, 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 no. People have to have agency. The liberty, boy, something, Here's where we start talking about the culture of the United States and the American pledge and how phenomenal the American pledge actually is. If you really listen to the words, what does it say? I pledge allegiance to the flag. We used to have to hold our hands over our heart. I stopped doing it because it would cover up my polo man. But I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's go there. So, not to get religious,
What's this got to do with individual agency? Okay,
I'm about to get it. I'm about to get it. I'm about to get it. See, I'm about to
take the
get it.
scenic route,
right? First of all, if you're not a religious person, this part, ignore this part, right? You will never have real liberty. You will never have one nation until you put it under God. Now, if you're not a religious person, you can ignore that part. And I'm not going to dig to when I'm talking with my Muslim and my Christian family and my Jews, I will get deeper into that, right? But the part that is most important is that it says with liberty and justice for all. Liberty precedes justice, right? Liberty comes before justice. You can never have a just society where the people do not have liberty. There must be freedom, and liberty means that I have to have the ability to decide at least what's good for my own self and my own body. If I don't have that agency, that liberty, then there's not a just society.
But there has to be limitations on individual freedom.
My limitations ends at your nose. That's what they say. My rights end at your nose.
So when we're talking about a possible public health or public impact of drug use, individuals who decide to try a drug first, but then after a while, we know addiction is a biological thing.
Psychological.
The psychological and biological, though.
It becomes physically addictive.
Chemical addiction that happens. But, how far do we take this individual liberties thing? Before you have to be reined in for the betterment of the group, of the whole.
Them getting high and having a physical or psychological addiction is not breaking the law. Them getting high and having a physical, psychological addiction and then going break into your house, that's a whole different story.
Right.
That's when they break the law. And at that point, you want to correct them for breaking the law. But if they want to sit in their house and smoke crack until their eyes fall out, that's on them.
Is the driver for the criminality. If the addiction, like my seeking to get high, is what's driving me to do criminal acts to make money to purchase the drug to get high again.
Well, some argue that it's
strong intersection.
Some argue that it's not the drug that is driving. It is the draconian laws that we have that says that if I smoke weed and go get the job, you're gonna drug test me. Now I can't get this job. So I can do the job. I'm qualified. I went to university. I went and got my certification, whatever have you. But now I smoke weed and you won't allow me to have this job, right?
You typically don't hear about weed heads having to go, and I'm talking about strong addictive drugs,
right?
But crack cocaine or something like that.
But even if I failed the drug test for heroin, they're functional heroin addicts. Miles Davis was a genius. He was a heroin addict.
I don't know if you can call Miles functional.
He was functional.
His personal life was a hot mess, but okay,
right? But he made his shows. That was his job. He went to work. All I'm saying is that I can see your point, but I don't believe anyone should go to jail to the point where they start breaking the law. And if they start breaking the law, then if they're robbing or stealing, whatever to support their habit, that's a whole different story. But just the use and possession of it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Right. But anyway, individuals have to have the liberty. They have to have the liberty to decide that's just my opinion, to what they can put into their body or refuse to put in their body or take out of their body. See, now we into a whole different thing, Roe versus Wade. Okay. Okay. That's a whole other thing, and I want to, it's a good thing, don't know. So it's not a good thing that people running around high, but to answer your question, Mushi T, is that how you think you said?
Yeah.
To answer your question, no, it's not a good thing that people are running around high, but it's even the worst thing to arrest them for running around high, right? To fill your jail cells with individuals who are getting high as opposed to individuals who are out committing real crimes. Hi, family, check in. Are you using a webcam? Yep. It must really look bad today. Maybe we need some more light in here. I don't know.
No, it is what it is. Continuing on.
All right. South African democracy should not look to any American or European models for its ideas. So I think, Brother Warren, I just want to offer some pushback. I think America on paper looks phenomenal. I think it was I forget her name, but she said we only want America as good as we only want an America as good as its promise.
Yeah.
Liberty and justice for all is a phenomenal idea, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inevitable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are phenomenal ideas. America on paper, when you read the Declaration of Independence and the preamble to the Constitution, when you read America's ideas on paper, it's beautiful. It's the implementation that's the problem. It's discrimination against Black and brown and poor people that is a problem. It is neo-fascists and neoliberals who have misinterpreted the manuscript that is the problem. The problem is that your founding fathers wrote these beautiful words about liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness and agency and all of this stuff at the same time holding slaves. But the paper, the words are beautiful. There's a promise there. They just need to live up to it. And it has never lived up to it. When they were writing the words, they wasn't living up to it, right? When they were writing the words, they never lived up to it. So that's the only pushback. So I understand what you're saying, that they shouldn't look to how America has implemented
Right.
these ideas, or how America has ran its government. But the ideas of liberty, we must have those. Those are fundamental human rights.
Mhm.
We must have liberty. We must have agency. We must have the ability to move from one social economic condition to another, right? These things are fundamental to
Yeah.
human beings. So I do think that America had that right in terms of writing it down in words, never in terms of how to implement it. All systems are based on race, tribe, ethnicity, and class. Damn, that's essay levels. Big facts. He's talking about, oh, Denzel. Wow. Oh, Denzel is in here? Shout out to Denzel.
What's going on?
Wow, I didn't know it had reached 60%. That's sad, brother, and that's happening in the so-called land of opportunity.
Mhm.
Just how you doing, brother? Shout out to Denzel. Delroy Ellis, we do need voting rights. I live in Georgia. I've never had any problem voting. Black people need to stop supporting the Democrats to teach them a lesson. They just need us for votes
Oh,
only.
Henry's in the house.
Shout out to Henry. What's
Hey,
going on?
Henry.
You know, there's a meme that's going
We need
around.
voting rights.
Yeah, we definitely need voting rights, right? Uh, we definitely need voting rights.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's saying that, right?
What's the context?
Yeah, it's a
Right.
context. But there's a meme that's going around that says, it's like poor people asking the government, asking the different parties for something, and the Republicans are just no, flat out, no. And then they have the Democrats, it says no, and then it says Black Lives Matter. Love is love, like for the LGBTQ community or whatever have you, and stop hate. It's just dressed up differently, right? Malcolm talked about the fox and the wolf,
Yeah.
that type of stuff. However, I do believe that some of the Democratic policies are more in line with poor and not policies, ideals that they speak about.
Right.
Because their policies are, problematic, but the ideals that they speak about are more in line with poor and working class people, people of color, and those people that Sly Stone would call. I had to throw it in there.
Always.
Everyday people, right? And that's the masses of Americans. The masses of Americans are not multimillionaires.
Right.
That's just so we have to have a policy, or the Democrats, they expound a policy, expound, I don't know, a policy that is in words about poor and working class people. However, the problem is when those same people get into office, they support Wall Street and not Main Street.
Right.
We hear that all the time.
Right.
Right. All right. Is that 60% true unemployment or voluntary unemployment? I was at the MGM in Detroit 2 days ago. Lots of hiring signs, but no one wants to get paid $15 an hour. Now, brother, that is a strong question. How many of our brothers in the city of New Orleans are actually going out looking for jobs? I talked to the brother who was actually over recruitment for the city of New Orleans. I talked to him Thursday. And he was like, man, there's jobs. He doesn't, I try to get them and they didn't want to work. So, I
But
mean,
I was thinking about incentives for working. If you, because we look everywhere you go now, we're short staffed. Everywhere you
everywhere.
go. I wonder about pay and cost of living. If you're paying me a wage, if I spend all day working
for $7.25 an hour,
and at the end of the day, I don't even make enough to pay my electricity bill.
But his argument is now that no one wants to work for $15 an hour. What we're seeing is that Burger King is giving sign-on bonuses of $500. Like there's some that there is. You got to you gotta have that honesty. Huh? You gotta have that honesty, and when we respond to these type of questions, as I'm a black
Do drugs
male,
pay more?
Nah, that's big facts. Big facts. No, they don't.
I don't know.
No. See, let's talk about do drugs pay more.
I'm thinking about what people are weighing when they're deciding I can work this job for 15 hours, or am I pushing on the corner and bringing home this much in cash? I don't have to pay taxes. All the things that people are really
have
weighing.
To go back to then when we talk about like opportunity cost of it, right?
Yeah. It's risky.
It's risky. But do drugs pay more? No.
Mm.
Well, why do you say that, Dr. Asad? The drug dealers seem to always have money. Well, why are people choosing it? Because we have a culture of music, right?
Mm-hmm,
That has
mm-hmm.
been promoting drug use and drug dealing for the last 20 years as a way to Jay-Z yourself out of a condition. Everyone thinks they're going to go from selling drugs to being, because the strangest thing is that most of your drug dealers also think they rappers too. Because everybody thinks they're going to Jay-Z their way. I mean, I work in criminal court. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you when I'm talking to the brothers, yeah, when I'm assessing, they yeah, bro, because I know I'm a rapper. Everybody a rapper and everybody's a trapper, right? But the question is, do drugs pay more? And the answer is no. 50 Cent said something a long time ago that I thought was very profound. He said, when you look at the amount of time that you're spending on the corner and the amount of time that you spend in jail, the amount of money you spend on lawyers, you're making less than minimum wage. When I look at these so-called drug dealers and criminals in my community, because I see them in criminal court every day, they have public defenders. They can't afford private lawyers. They're still sitting in jail because they can't afford bond to get out. So if they were making that much money, where is it? Because I tell you what, if I'm not sitting in jail for murder, if I'm sitting in jail for some drug possession, and my bond is $20,000 and $30,000, I'm going home. Now, the police can come arrest me right now, and since I've never committed a violent crime, whatever they arrest me for right now, I know I'm going home. I got the money in the bank. I can walk out. And I know I'm not getting a public defender. I'm going to get a paid lawyer who I can curse out and tell him, you need to do this, that, and the third. Public defenders got 90 cases. They're not taking care of you. They're not. I mean, they're doing the bare minimum, and bless their heart, because I think a lot of them are good people and they're trying their best, but they are working with
nothing. No resources.
So
yes, that's a serious question, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. So at the end of the day, if you got the money like that, why are you not out of jail?
Yeah, but that's the question I have overall when they're talking about the great, what is it? The great resignation.
The great resignation and the big quit.
Where's everybody getting their money from?
People starting jobs.
Oh, that's a whole other thing. Very expensive.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of theories failed. So they said that once the government stops paying those unemployment benefits, everybody was going to run back to work.
Right.
Well, like
and they stopped.
They stopped, and like 20 million Americans quit their jobs. They thought everybody was going to run back to work when those unemployment benefits ran out. Nah, it's like the idea of, I don't know if this has anything to do with SA, but the idea of work and life balance has to change in the United States. Yeah. It just has to fundamentally change. We will never see the United States at those pre-pandemic levels of economy, maybe, until we get everyone back to work and people are interested in going to work. But again, for the first time in our lives, right? Some people were, for the first time in their adult life, had 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to really sit down and think. You get caught up on that, what do you call it, the hamster wheel, and all you do is get up, go to work, go to school, blah, blah, blah. And you think you're living, boy, you got the weekend, and you're great. You live for 48 hours. Your entire life is based on 48 hours on Saturday and Sunday that you get to have some chill.
10 vacation days.
Right.
By an employer a year.
And that's sad. So people, for the first time in their life, oh, wait a minute, this is some BS. They got to really examine it and say, well, hold on, wait a minute. I've been going to work.
I kind of like not being stressed out.
So before the pandemic, 1 in 67 jobs were virtual.
Yeah.
Now 1 in 6 jobs are virtual. They found, those employers who have found a way to make their jobs virtual, to make their company virtual and move into the 21st century, right? And allow their employees to work from home or have flexible work schedules, come in 2 days a week versus Monday through Friday. Yeah, those are the ones who will be around in the future. So now you're having a tough time, right? Finding people to fill McDonald's jobs and Burger King jobs, because you can't virtual that. You
Virtual
got to
it.
come in.
You can automate a lot of it.
And that's what they're going to move to.
Yeah, they
So
are.
if you cannot get into the virtual because you are some type of professional and you're not taking these other jobs, they're going to be automated and you're going to be left out. This is just my prediction. You're going to be left out. So it's going to be rough on certain segments of people. But let's get to this. I'm stuck indoors and have a clear.
That's another
Oh,
conversation.
okay. When you see 60% of men unemployed, that's institutional racism. In fact, it's the very definition. Come on, brother Josh, big facts. The snow is beautiful. Okay. Poverty is not the main correlation to crime. Countries in Asia and Africa are some of the most poverty-stricken places, but crime is low. So it's a cultural thing. I see it in South Africa as well. Well, that is true. That is true. But it depends on what kind of crime you're talking about. You know, because it just so happens in the United States, violent crime is what makes the news, right? But poor people have always participated in crimes, right? Black market, selling stuff that they shouldn't be selling. The Kennedys came to power as bootleggers, right? Selling alcohol during the time of Prohibition. I don't know much about crime in Asian countries.
I don't either.
Yeah, I
Nor
don't
do I
know.
know their laws.
Right.
Laws.
Crime laws,
What is a
right.
crime?
Right. The media and justice system emphasizes the end user or the end of seller of drugs. They don't go after the main supplier of these drugs. The government knows who the
Right.
kingpins. Big facts.
Yep.
Big facts, Doc. Preach, brother. All of these fake gangs, even white kids are acting gangster. These youngsters ain't never seen a gun. Doc Asad, you guys are so lucky. No snow in New Orleans. Man, no.
It's cold though.
We would know.
Unusually cold for us. I don't like the cold weather.
We wouldn't know how to act if we saw snow. Every time we see it, it may be like a handful of snow. We outside like it's a winter wonderland. But how can we tolerate 60% unemployment when there are 10 million vacant jobs in the United States? If jobs are not in your area, move where the jobs are. That's what logical people do. Man, you speaking too logical. You just making too much sense.
As they say, it's too much like right.
That's too much like right. And then most people not moving. In this city, people don't leave New Orleans. They stay. Those that left a long time. Those who could left a long time ago. And we're leaving. We're leaving.
That's some of the logic we use.
That's some of the logic we use.
Find your opportunities where you can find
yeah,
them.
brother. I wish I could give them this feeling. Fund schools as much as they fund the police and army. Now that is factual. Right? They spend more on policing and prisons than they do on public schools. And that's a problem, right? But factory schools. This is a theory that someone said that the way education is set up is not set up for you to necessarily be an entrepreneur. They teach in school for you just to be a worker. And I think that there is a innate, maybe subconscious rebellion against that in many people. Right. But that's a different story. We move on. The fact that some people in the US cannot vote because they in jail is crazy. Yeah. So can people in South Africa vote in jail? Because I think you should not lose your right to vote because you were in jail. I think that's a weird.
Well, like once you're released.
No. I think you should be voting in jail.
While you're in jail.
Why not? Well, since I think vote. When did voting become something that you take away from an individual because they committed a crime? Why that? Why I just why that? It just didn't make any sense to me. I guess maybe the logistics of getting an individual to the polls, but I don't think a citizen should ever lose their right to vote, because if you are a citizen and your right to, then what's the point? Well, what kind of citizen are you then at that point? If you can't vote, if you can't give your consent, right? A vote is
consent to govern.
Your consent to govern. So if you can't give your consent to whom you want to govern you, whether they win or not, then what you're like a slave almost. Whoever other people are controlling your destiny if you are not voting. If they take away your right to vote. So you used to smoke weed? Yes, I don't have no problem telling that. Last time I smoked weed, man, baggy pants was in style. How about that? Last time I smoked weed, baggy pants was in style, and like Tupac might have been live. No, Tupac wasn't alive. Biggie, maybe Puffy was singing "Can't Nobody Take My Pride." That type of stuff. It's been a long time since I
Oh,
smoked
come
weed.
through, Henry.
What do you say?
This is interesting. During apartheid, the separation of apartheid of the family was the greatest crime against non-white South Africans. This is still playing out here in SA and certainly still in the USA.
Yes, definitely, Henry. Definitely, Henry.
It's hard to have a strong community with broken families.
Oh man, do
Real
y'all know
hard.
that like almost 70% of black households are headed in the United States? I don't know what the numbers are in SA, but this is to Henry's point. That almost 70% of black households in the United States are headed by a single parent, mainly a single black woman.
Mm.
To where a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, was married 19 years, and he and his wife are going through a divorce, and he has teenage sons, and he was trying to have a conversation with his sons about this, and his son said, "Dad, we don't care.
Mm.
All of our friends, he's like, all of our friends don't have dads. Like most, like the vast majority of their friends don't have dads, meaning dad's not in the home or dad's not around. So now the fact that he's getting a divorce and they're staying with their
Mm.
mother, right? And he's living in an apartment in one part of the city, and his kids are in another. They're like, it's no big deal. This is normal. So normal in the black community in the United States is mom, very maternal. What do you call it? Maternalistic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Moms are in charge, and there are very few dads because
Mm.
let's go back to those crack laws and crack crimes, right?
Yeah.
And how many black men
Targeted
they lock?
policing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah. Don wants to know why we're so serious today.
I said we were serious today.
Yeah.
What happened?
Why
I
are we
don't
so
know.
serious today, Doc?
I think we started talking about serious topics.
It's like citizenship is
Yeah,
where this
yeah,
started.
and and you can't laugh too much about that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
these are
No, the
serious
serious
issues,
issues,
serious times.
serious issues. Yeah.
And there's a reason that we would pick up and decide to leave the country of our birth and try something new.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to think about that when people immigrate from one part of the world, not, just like here we live in the United States. You would think I'll just leave and go to Texas. If you're hearing, again, this is very important, and maybe this is why it's so serious. You're hearing people like Doc, who's on here, and sitting judges that I'm telling you about, the people that are leaving. If you hear these people talking about leaving, it really should give you pause to really what is going on in the United States.
Mm.
Why are Negroes walking around with PhDs talking about leaving the United States? Right? What is really going on? And so it should give you some reason. So some of the stuff, I like to laugh and joke, but everything ain't gonna be funny. Let's see.
Right.
That was apartheid's plan. Okay. They decriminalized POC so that you can't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like the concept of agency as part of a philosophy. Thank you. Thank you. Saying it is your body goes contrary to the public health policy and the well being of society. Look how hard drugs have destroyed families and communities. Granted, I didn't say they were good for the families and communities. At the end of the day, somebody should have, like tattoos can cause, when you get a tattoo on your body, some people it can have an adverse effect because of the ink in the tattoo,
Mm-hmm.
and it can actually poison you, right?
Yeah.
Should people stop getting tattoos? I know tattoos. It seems like people not going out and kill people for tattoos, right? But the point is, people should have the ability to do what they want to do with their own bodies. I would just that's my fundamental belief. I don't want to tell anybody what they can do with their body, because when you start telling people what they can do with their bodies, it also tell them it leads into very other things. Like if you say you can't pray this certain way because I don't want you to bend your body that way.
Mm.
You bend to the left when you bow and prostrate, and we had this study that says it's bad to bend to the left. It gets real tricky, and it may sound crazy, but drapetomania was a diagnosable disease in the DSM, um, in the DSM. So I just believe
Yeah.
fundamentally you have to have control over your body. At the end of the day, we need to follow the science. Decriminalization actually makes things better for society because resources criminalizing it can rather be used for treatment and prevention. Big facts. Drugs excite demons.
Mm.
Hmm. That's why they call them spirits. When you drink alcohol here, I don't know if they use that word in South Africa, but when you go to a liquor store, we don't have liquor stores here, but if you go to a liquor store, or when you go to we sell liquor in our grocery stores here. So when you go to the grocery store aisle with the liquor on it, it's called the spirits. It is called the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
I love both. I love both your brains, especially on the weed, Liberty Agency, and other things. Whose line is it anyway? I agree with Asian. Is it the drugs? There's plenty of documentaries that show most people doing drugs had proper jobs, but a salary is never enough to sustain a drug habit. I don't know. Maybe that's a SA thing. I agree with Asad on this drug issue. I'm a libertarian on this. I think I'm a libertarian too on this one. That's so who's a libertarian? Ron Paul.
Ooh.
Abolish private
Mm.
prison. Ooh. They hit the now they starting to talk.
Mm.
Here's the question. Here's a question. I made this on my Instagram. I didn't put it on YouTube. When you ride around the city of New Orleans, and this is from what I understand over several black communities, you will see, especially when you go into the hood, you will see billboards that say, um, "Have you been arrested? Call me. If you need a lawyer, call me."
Mm.
You know, or you'll see advertisements, especially in New Orleans, for bail bondsmen. Right?
Yeah.
There's a guy named Blair, and he is the bail
Blair's
bondsman.
bail bond.
Blair here in New Orleans is the
Blair
bail
Boo.
bondsman king. You ride down Tulane, I think he got 2 separate offices
Mm-hmm.
for bail bondsmen, right? To get out of jail. The question is then, well, the billboards tell you what type of industry a city has, right?
Huh.
Tells you what type of industry the city, they're advertising their industries. Well, what is the
True.
so criminal justice then in New Orleans must be an industry. Then the question is this, and we know it's an industry because so many people work in the criminal justice system here.
Mm.
The so-called successful black folk are lawyers, judges, individuals who are criminal justice system adjacent, like myself. Um, the jails, right? The jail is one of the jail is one of the biggest employers in the city of New Orleans. So the question
There's
is
lots
this:
of small towns all over this state.
all over the state
The single largest employer is the prison.
is the prison.
So you talk about abolishing prisons.
So then the
It's a
question
political
is,
issue.
watch this, cities like where Hunts is located.
Yeah.
I forgot wherever Hunts is located. The city of Angola is only a prison. It's a city and it's only a prison, right? So the question is then, if it's an industry, what are they buying and selling?
Mm.
What's the product? What is the product? If you have an industry, right, there's a product that's being bought and sold, and it's still black bodies, right? They have found a way to buy and sell black bodies now through prison as opposed through the plantation. But
To what end though? For free labor, right?
for free labor, yeah.
Cheap labor.
That's when people said Kanye was crazy. Kanye wasn't crazy. You didn't listen to you let the man finish his sentence. He said there's a problem with the 13th Amendment because the 13th Amendment says what? That slavery is abolished unless it's a punishment for a crime.
Right.
So then they start criminalizing black people and everything we did. Slavery is abolished unless it's a punishment for a crime. To this day, you can go to Angola State Prison here. It's named Angola. Oh, it's deep. Angola State Prison here in Louisiana, and you can see black men working fields. And we don't see a problem with it because, hey, they prisoners who are in jail for nonviolent drug offenses. How about that? They're in jail for nonviolent drug offenses, right?
Wrongfully charged.
Are wrongfully charged.
A lot of innocent people.
But they're in jail for 20 and 30 years because they got caught with possession of crack and marijuana and heroin. They didn't kill anybody. Well, some of them killed people, right? Let's not play games. Yeah, but a lot of them are there for non-violent drug offenses, and they will be there for 30 years. And while they're there, they're in the fields, working fields, growing tobacco.
We're working on creating some product that's sold in the private market.
Right. So that's slavery.
That's slavery. Yeah.
They get paid 2 cents an hour. And I'm not making that up. They get paid 2 cents an hour. How is that not slavery?
Mm.
So that's what Kanye was saying when he was like, "Yeah, we need to get rid of people." Oh, Kanye, man, I don't like Kanye in many instances. I don't. But let's remind people of who Kanye West is. When our people, when black people here in New Orleans was stuck on roofs because our city
Mm.
flooded, right? 80% of our city was underwater and people had to stand on their roof for 4 and 5 days. This is not an exaggeration. For 4 and 5 days, it was Kanye West who got on national TV and said George Bush does not care about black people. That is a truth. That is a truth. See, he's crazy in many ways. That Trump supporting stuff was out of line. Out of line. That's a problem. How did the man who recognized that George Bush didn't care about black people then support Donald Trump? However, he's crazy. He's thrown off in a lot of ways, but there's some glimmers of genius in Kanye
Even a
West.
broken clock is
That's
right
true.
Twice a day.
All right, I keep getting off of these. If you
Yes,
send
you
drug
do.
addicts to jail, they come out with PhDs in criminality. Yes. Only intelligent platforms. What does that mean? Oh, that's a person.
Everywhere, fam.
Right.
Yeah, today we're checking
Doctor,
the paths.
no, I think he was talking about he's referring to somebody.
Oh, I was like, yeah, we're taking all paths.
Dr. Asad argues right up until a limit. On the other side, Adrienne argues the limitations of rights. I like that. On paper, it's good, but corruption is messing up everything. Right.
True.
Sounds so familiar, very familiar. How do Africans build bridges within themselves in Africa and the African diaspora around the world? You want to address that? That's a deep one.
I gotta really think on that one. That's a big question.
Well, here's part of this platform when we talk about building the bridges and why South Africa. So yeah, we like South Africa, but when we look at this as a strategic plan of helping to build bridges and close gaps, South Africa becomes the most familiar and easiest way to begin to build the transitions. If African Americans in the diaspora visit South Africa, it is a launching pad. There's going to be many who are going to visit and be like, "Oh, I love South Africa, but I don't want to stay here. I want to try Tanzania."
Yeah,
there'll be many who visit South Africa. I like Tanzania. I like South Africa, but I want to go to Ghana. And there are a lot of people who go to Ghana who want to come to South Africa. But South Africa is an ease of transition for us. Like we were talking the other day, Johannesburg is any major American city. If you guys really want to know what it's like in a major American city, go to Johannesburg. Yeah. That's it. I'm telling you, like Johannesburg is Houston, Johannesburg is Atlanta. It just happens to be all black, right? And I mean, obviously they're the different cultural, but just the look and the way it moves and how things are done. If you want to know what it's like in Houston, visit or Atlanta, visit Johannesburg. And if you live in Johannesburg, then you know what it's like. Right. So for Black Americans in the diaspora in particular, or even our Caribbean brothers and sisters who want to connect to the continent, South Africa becomes the launching pad. So as we begin to develop these dialogues and close the gap, we can build bridges and close the gap. The reason why we start with South Africa is because it's the most familiar. Unapologetic nomads are in South Africa,
Johannesburg, as we speak.
And the young girl was like, "Man, it just reminds me of home." Yes,
that's cool to see.
Yes, and that is where we start. We start with the familiarities. It's like the Venn diagram, right? And that center of the Venn is where you work to build. That's how you connect things in the center of the Venn. So South Africa checks that. There's a lot of stuff in the center of that Venn, and once we start getting people to put foot on the continent and connecting with real Africans, right? More and more we have these discussions, and more I learned that a lot of these hangups are on the African American side, right? Maybe some of Nigerians have a little hangups about Black Americans, but the vast majority of continental Africans don't have these hangups. We for so long we heard that Africans didn't like us and all this type of stuff. Yeah. So those hangups are on our side because the on the ground reality is quite different, right? So as we get Black Americans to begin to establish relationships and communicate with real on the ground Africans, and I think that's easier to do with South Africans. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
It's just easier to do with South Africans.
Start the path of least resistance.
Right.
Right?
So,
Yeah.
and again, it's not about getting everyone to move to South Africa.
No.
40 million black folk are not leaving the United States to move anywhere.
Right.
Right. But if we are able to build bridges to where we could take some of the resources we have here and bring them there, and we could take some of the and y'all could take some of the resources there and bring them to the black community in particular, right? Because guess what? White folk got a lot of African resources. A lot of white Americans got a lot of African resources, right? They out here building all these cheap laptops and giving y'all this grainy footage. Yeah, what's it? The cobalt, right? All that comes from the ground in Africa, right? So they got the connections, right? All our Goodyear tires on our cars, the rubber comes from Africa. They got the connections. We need the connections. So we need to make sure we build bridges with our brothers and sisters on the continent and close these gaps. And it starts with connecting with our family in South Africa, at least for me. Now, some people will argue, no, it starts with Ghana. And I can Ghana or Nigeria. And I can say, oh, man, I can see the argument because historically, Black Americans come from West Africa. Although I read some new DNA updates, you know.
Caveat.
On my 23andMe DNA updates, I keep getting, now I'm East African and Southern African. Right? People don't even know where I'm from, man. I don't believe that stuff no more, man.
Reshuffle everything.
They reshuffle. They're like, oh, we got some new DNA updates. They sent me an email. You got some new DNA updates. And they got me with the Congo and Southern Africa. No, South Africa. Yeah. South Africa. Yeah. Yeah, it sure did. Look at God. Look at God. My DNA say I'm South African. I always felt it. But it was more the Congo and Angola, and then it added some more East African stuff in there. It's just really weird. And then everybody always thought Adrienne was East African, thought she was Ethiopian, and she just from San Antonio. She just from Texas. She just light skin with good hair. Good hair. Extreme form of social influence used to, and I think he was talking about the music. Yeah. Dr. Shannon Etienne. Now, I got a question. Is she a ADOS person or not? Because I thought she was on some stuff. Maybe I'm confusing her with somebody. Go ahead, baby. This is not the voting rights.
Still the voting stuff. I'm not gonna let you go back to the voting
okay, cool.
We can't do that again. Oh goodness.
Okay, they're talking about the numbers. That's right. But Warren Green giving them numbers. That's right. There are 330 million people in America and about 18 million undocumented. African Americans are about 44 million people, which is about 13 to 14% of the population. So we start talking, I don't know what they're talking about, but a lot of times I saw a video, y'all, on the ADOS, FBA, and the xenophobia within that movement. And here's the problem to me. They focus on African immigrants. There's only like 5 million African immigrants in the United States, right? And there's like 20 million Hispanic immigrants in the United States. Something crazy. Like the Hispanic population is the second largest group in the United States behind our European white brothers and sisters. And for FDA and ADOS to focus on these 5 million Africans, right, versus the millions and millions of our Hispanic brothers and sisters, it just seems that's how you know it's xenophobia. That's how you know it's just embedded self-hate.
They said you can vote in jail in South Africa. Even in Cuba, you can vote in jail. Check it out.
Because it makes sense. It does not make sense to take people's right to vote away. I personally believe people in jail should not vote. If you decide to infringe on the liberties of other people, then I don't see why you should have a voice in the fate. But isn't jail paying for that? Like, isn't going to jail paying for that crime? So why are we doubly punishing them, right? So I commit a crime, I get convicted, I go to jail. I'm being punished. Now you'll take away my vote too? Why are you punishing me twice? And that's not double jeopardy. You're not charging me twice, but you're punishing me twice, right? Um, I just don't think it's fair. He said, "Okay, you're too lenient." He said, "Dr. Asad cannot let you run the jailhouse. You're too lenient. I think we need a good balance between punishment and rehabilitation. Otherwise, we'll end up living in the zoo." I don't know. You got to see. That's the thing about it. You got to check those data. The data has shown us that tough on crime and lock everybody up just didn't work. We did that.
Yeah.
The United States was the most. Louisiana was the most incarcerated state in the most incarcerated country in the world. We did that. We locked people up for 30 years. It didn't work. We know what we found out. People were using more drugs than they were using in the 80s, right? And we destroyed families. We destroyed education systems. We placed mothers at a disadvantage. We placed black children at a disadvantage. We tried the tough on crime approach. The president of the United States right now, Joe Biden, is the author of the three strikes and the omnibus crime bill, and he's telling you it didn't work. There's so much data on how this tough on crime lock everybody up stuff was a failure. It was a complete and utter failure. There has to be a new approach. I'm not saying that I know everything about it. I'm just saying it has to be a new approach. We have seen that the data is saying it doesn't. What we have been doing does not work. Crime has not been reduced, and drug usage has not been reduced since we've been locking everybody up for for crime. All right, what else we got?
I think we're just way behind.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want to catch up?
I was overseas when Katrina happened, and when I saw those African Americans pleading for help, the news called us African American refugees. Never forgot it. Yeah, that was a terrible display of incompetence for our government.
But what Kanye was saying is that white Americans will never be stranded on their rules in the United States. That's big facts.
Oh no, they wouldn't. There's no way they would have been with signs talking about help us, give us water for 5 days.
Here's what you have to understand.
That's what we know.
In August 29th, Katrina happened, 2005. August 29th, 2005. Right? On August 1st, 2005, New Orleans was 70% black, basically. 68% was the number. So basically 70% black. And that's why you had a slow response. It was like not the blackest city, because I think Detroit at the time was like 81%. Detroit had a very big black, like a little bit more black population than us. But Jackson, Mississippi. But New Orleans was the black city that everybody cared about because it's the black city that everybody came to party. It's a big tourist town or whatever have you. So we had all of these black folk here, and you had this massive storm. Oh man, y'all. Katrina wasn't just like came up out of the Gulf and then hit New Orleans. It actually swerved from Florida, came into Florida, went back into the Gulf. So we watched Katrina for weeks. People forget this. It hit Florida, came back into the Gulf, and then went up and hit like the New Orleans, Mississippi area, right?
Yeah.
We watched Katrina for weeks. The government had all sorts of time to prepare.
They did.
All sorts of time to prepare. And watched our people drown and die, right? And once it happened, I'm sorry, you gotta go?
No.
Then once it happened, left us out here on the roofs for 5 days. The greatest nation on earth. A nation that can find Saddam Hussein in a hole
bunker
in the desert. They found Saddam Hussein in a hole in the desert covered up by sand.
Can figure out the math to travel space.
The greatest nation on earth where we have private citizens flying into outer space. Couldn't figure out how to get on a boat and get people out of the city of New Orleans. We're planning African empowerment. You have to plan for interlopers, interventions, and European unity against it. Man, Warren, come on, big facts. If we were homogeneous, sure, Pan-Africans would work easy. Right. But let me talk about that. I don't think you have to be homogeneous. I think that you can have solidarity with specificity.
Yeah.
You can have solidarity with specificity, right? South Africans are not just like Kenyans. South Africans are not just like
No, not at
Ghanaians.
all.
Ghanaians live next door to Nigerians and they're not just like Nigerians, right? Black Americans are not like Jamaicans, or African Americans in the continental United States are not completely like Jamaicans. We know there's some similarities, and we have a lot of cultural exchange. Shout out to the Jamaicans for helping create hip hop, right? Um, so there's specificity in each of these little bastions. But we can't live in silos, right?
Right.
We can still have specificity with solidarity. And I think that's why it's important organizing locally. I would say we come up with 10 points. Everybody has their different reasons why they want to do things, but if we come up with 10 solid points, right, of things that we agree on, things that we believe that we can that would help move whatever agenda forward, as long as we can agree on those 10 points and we work within those 10 points, we move forward. That is how the United States has what they call a peaceful transfer of power every 4 years, although it didn't happen last time because we had an insurgency. But the peaceful transfer of power is because it is not about the person, it is about that policy that's written on that paper, right? They are bound by the Constitution. When they swear into office, they take an oath to not defend their party, but to defend the Constitution. It is the paper that matters. It is what's put on that paper. So when we talk about, Pan-African, we need to come up with a Pan-African Constitution.
But I think
that
the
we
challenge
support.
with Pan-Africanism now is if you haven't traveled, right, you may not see a connection with other Black people. So when you do travel, for instance, when I college, I went to Martinique and was amazed at the commonalities. The people in Martinique, they experienced their colonialism. But when I was sitting in class, that professor kept harking to the Renaissance writers and how their freedom movements and struggles of independence were influenced by those of the Harlem Renaissance, those writers. And so I got to see that connection, that international connection. When we went to Colombia and went to Palenque, went on that tour, he talked about how there were troops from the United States that came and spent time in Colombia. And that's how he learned English, but he was also exposed to Malcolm X and the teachings of Malcolm X. So it's that commonality when you start to see, oh, these people over here are dealing with the same struggles I'm dealing with back home.
Right.
That's what creates the link. Right. That's what creates the brotherhood, the sisterhood. And if we're not traveling, if we're not exposed, then we don't know.
True.
We don't know. Like these are my people. They've experienced something I've experienced and continue to experience in their setting as I'm doing in mine. So that's the challenge. It's hard to create the commonalities and the linkages if people aren't in contact.
That's true. But what's sad is that Black Americans we're starting to travel.
Yeah.
We're starting to travel. So in order to take your theory, then it's going to take some time to get to the critical mass needed to where we can actually have that buy-in from Black America about connecting with this Pan-African movement. Because keep in mind, here's what's important. When we were watching Amend last night and they were talking about 1959, I told my son Austin, I said, your mama, which is my mom, right? That's what we call mama, is what you call what our children call my mom, their grandmother, mama. I said, mama was 20 years old in 1959. She's still alive today. She's still alive today. That's my mom, right? She's 82, 83. So why is that important? Because the last Green Book, the Green Book was a little book of collection that the Negro Green Book would tell you. I think they stopped producing it in 1962, publishing it in 1962, 1963. But it would tell you places that were safe for African Americans to stop throughout the country, mainly throughout the South.
If you were traveling.
If you were traveling. I'm talking about travel. So if you were traveling, they would say this place in so-and-so Mississippi will actually let Black people sleep there. Avoid this town. This restaurant will actually serve Black people from the back door. You can go there to eat. This gas station will allow you to get gas. This gas station won't. So this green book had all of this information. This is what we needed to travel around our own country.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, again, was a full-grown woman, and they were still publishing this green book. She's 23 years old. I guess at that time, in 1962, 63, she's 22 or 23 years old. You follow what I'm saying? So there's this generation of people, and because they stopped publishing the book in 63, doesn't mean that things got better.
Right.
There's this is still going on. So this idea of travel is very new to us. And I said to say that many Black people live in their cities and very, very rarely visit other cities. They live in Houston, and maybe every so often they go. That's maybe a certain demographic. As I said before, these young folk, They different. Shout out to the millennials. These young folk are different. They moving around.
Yeah.
However, they don't have jobs or money. And it is the baby boomers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Gen Xers like ourselves, who are the ones who
I'm on
are.
the cusp. I'm an exennial.
Oh, well, I'm a full-blown Gen Xer.
I'm the exennial.
But as those of us who are now been in the workforce for many years, who may have some means of wealth, or a little bit of money, a little bit of power position, who are able to influence certain things. So we're going to have a little work to do as it relates to traveling and building this Pan-African stuff, but it's not saying it can't be done. And from the interactions will be huge for Black people worldwide. I already see YouTube how Africans and Black Africans. Yes, man, isn't this something?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it something that Black America? Shout out to YouTube, because I don't see it happening on Facebook, and I think it's the way the platforms are set up, right? Facebook is like your friends and contacts in your phone, so you end up seeing a whole bunch of people that you already know.
Yeah.
Right? YouTube is subject based, like interest based, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you start connecting with people with similar interests and not just similar location. That's what Facebook is like. It's similar location. I don't even know what Instagram is, but YouTube has been a phenomenal tool of collecting. Let me get on my soapbox right quick.
You just now getting on?
I'm just now getting on. I sat there and made up all that stuff about how hard it's gonna be to connect Black folk because of their traveling. But the fact of the matter is, Black folk in the South in Montgomery, Alabama, had an entire bus boycott, right, for an entire year. Listen, this is profound. I think for an entire year they had a bus boycott. There was no Twitter. There was no YouTube. They don't even have cell phones. What they had was a determination to take down a bus company, and they had unity and love for one another. And they had the Black church. The Black church was our headquarters, right? That's what we. And watch this. Before there was any such thing as an Uber or a Lyft, those Black folks in Montgomery, Alabama, created ride sharing, a system of a network of cars that would pick up and drop off people to get them back and forth to work. Carpooling, right? So I said all of that to say that, yeah, we're going to have to start traveling and it's going to take some time, but we live in a world where I can connect with you right now. There is 87 people in here, and 87 of them or 85 of them are in Johannesburg or in South Africa, they're in Cape Town somewhere. So we don't necessarily have to do a whole lot of time given, because we live in a new age to where we can now connect. We can connect now. So yeah, YouTube has made it easier to build these bridges and to close these gaps. What else we got going on?
So much discussion.
All right, excellent point, Adrienne. Palenque feels African.
Indeed.
Yeah, it does when I was back home.
Jamaica believes, etc.
Yep. You gotta come to New Orleans. No, don't come. Don't come. I'm sorry. Don't come. Don't come. It's dangerous right now. It's bad right now, family. I'm telling you right now, we stay inside all day. YouTube is one of the best platforms. Shout out to Denzel. Denzel, we will come up to North Carolina, brother, holler at you one day. Inshallah. live in wisdom. So you are saying Africans are inferior and needed to be colonized?
Oh no, that's something between them and another person.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Miss just said Americans and African Americans, that is a clear distinction. Oh, I don't know. They on something else.
Right. Everybody's having their
Oh,
own
side conversation.
discussion.
Okay. All right. Like we at the end of it, huh? All right. Good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, yeah,
At
yes.
the end of the conversation. But look, what we don't have to start arguing with each other.
No, we don't.
We don't. I know a lot of times we get into these rooms and we start. I have been to New Orleans. Remember, I asked you, oh, to show Congo
Oh,
Square. That was you.
Shakira,
All
come
right.
on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then you've done enough. Don't come back now. Don't come back. Not that I don't want you, brother, brother, sister. I don't know if there's a brother or sister, but you're more than welcome to come, and I would love to host you. But it's dangerous right now. What is your definition of Pan-Africanism?
Just as we're about to close.
That's what we're about to close up. No, I think that's an interesting. What is your definition of Pan-Africanism?
Let me think. I would say it's so in Adrienne's mind, it is sort of a higher identity, an identity crafted for all of us to unify under.
Mm-hmm.
So we are Pan-African because we have similar aims, similar goals, mainly being that we want to get from under
Colonialism, white supremacy, right?
Of white supremacy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could come up with a better definition if I had time to really think through.
Yeah,
but I'm a processor.
I think Pan-African in my mind is where I would see it, envision it would be creating, and they're like real theorists on Pan-Africanism, right? So, but I think the way I see Pan-Africanism is connecting African people worldwide under, as you say, but I say under even a more specific agenda, right? In which there is interdependency and interconnectivity for the poor and everyday people who are in this on the continent and in the diaspora, and as a way of pooling resources and connecting resources to benefit individuals who are under this Pan-African idea, right? To benefit African people, right? And African descended people. So I guess that would be my freestyle definition. Sometimes you know what it is and just don't know how to put it in words, right?
A little time.
Somebody said I would pass on the alligator meat. Let's look at China is pouring so much money into Africa and increases debt to Africa. What happens if Africa fail to pay China? Will demand piece of land? I don't know, but I think that we should have Black Americans pouring money into Africa. The only problem is Black Americans don't have any money, en masse. But we do have a better exchange rate, right? We do have a better exchange rate. Okay, Pan, ever seen all Black people as a member of your family, no matter where they live in the world? Okay, that's a definition. I see that.
I like that.
And that's the way I see it. But do all yeah. So we got to have that Pan-African mindset, because so what happens, my problem, not my problem, the concern I have is that, these identities that we have now taken on. I'm Jamaican, I'm New Orleanian, I'm Haitian, right? They're not fake anymore. They're not facades. They're real identities at this point, right? They're deeply interested. They actually have meaning. They have meaning, cultural meaning, cultural context. When you say you're Haitian, that means something. When you say you're Jamaican, and again, so that's that specificity, right? That's that specificity that we have to have. So when we say we have to see each other as family, but we cannot ignore this. My only concern is I don't want people to start ignoring specificity. Like we're just all the same. We all African. No. We have to have specificity because there are unique experiences that have taken place for all of these different African groups that must be addressed and understood. And because we bring these things to the table. And why do I say that? So if I don't, if we say if we don't recognize the specificity, and um, what was it, Ethiopia that wasn't colonized,
Hmm.
right? Or I think it was like 4 years the Italians were there. So I don't if they don't have that same relationship with white colonization as maybe South Africans. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And the reason why we get along with not get along, but the reason well we get along, but the reason why we have this connection with black South Africans and colored South Africans is because we had similar relationships. They had a similar relationship with white people that we had. But our
Hmm.
Nigerian brothers and sisters don't have that relationship.
True.
There was a different their relationship with British colonialism was different than in South Africa, and our relationship with white folk in America was different than their relationship. So it's important because when we come together, we bring these experiences with us. So when
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm skeptical of white folks and maybe my Nigerian brothers and sisters that don't have that same level of skepticism,
Yeah.
right? They don't have that same level of skepticism. They have to understand why I have my levels of skepticism. And conversely, I have to understand why they don't have
Why they
that
do
level.
not. Hmm.
Right. That's what I said all that to get to that little point. Like we bring our experiences as different African groups to this Pan-African table. And we have to be aware that, it's like when white man is the devil. And you're like, no, I don't understand. It's like, well, you ain't experienced them like I experienced them. you know, or when people come to the United States and and so in our last video with Brother Greg, right? We were Greg was saying that he experienced some nice white people. I was like, yeah, the white people in South Africa are nice to us. And someone got in there, and I understood this very clearly,
Yeah.
that because we're not their Negroes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Black South Africans and colored South Africans, you're their Negroes. So they have a relationship with y'all, and how they treat y'all is how they treat y'all, right? They see us, they don't see us the same. They hear my accent, they hear Adrian's accent, they hear Greg's accent, and they be like, oh, they're different, right? So they may treat us differently. It's the same thing when you come to the United States. You have that South African accent, they're gonna think you smarter. They'll know that you are not one of us, meaning African Americans, African, the slave ones, right? And they will treat you differently. And so when you come here and we like, man, these white folk ain't nothing, man, blah 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 blah, and you're like, well, no, they're treating me fine, that's great. You'll have to understand our experience, and and it was clear that we understand your experience, you understand our experience. That's the beauty of the South African American
Yeah.
connection. But that's not,
That's what living wisdom is saying. They
yeah.
will say, let me see, white people are nice to you because you're Black American. They will say bad things to you about us, and
Mm.
vice versa. When you come here, they will say
Different
terrible
things,
things to you
exactly,
about
exactly.
Black Americans.
And there's always a white man at the center of this. All this division that we got, all this division is all part of the problem. Now is
Oh,
many what?
saying that connection is not stable.
Oh,
The internet here is a mess.
yeah. But the problem is how many Black Africans don't see each other as family or even the same people. That's true. That's true. That's true. How is that on the continent? That's my question. Like, how are the relationships between and why isn't there like I know there are regional groups, right? 4 or 5 countries be like this regional group, but why isn't there like a unified all 53 states, not one constitution, United States of Africa, but maybe a United States of Africa? That would be fire.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be fire, y'all?
It'd be cool.
A United States of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Amr Elijah Muhammad said that black unity is more powerful than a hydrogen or nuclear bomb. That's the one thing we've never tried is like unified black folk all over the world. Marcus tried it. Marcus tried it. He had a lot of stuff going on in the US and in the West, but I'm not sure how much headway he made into the continent itself. But yes, we have to see each other
Mm-hmm.
as one family.
Yeah.
Indeed, it would be nice, United Africa. Man, Bob Marley sang, Africa Unite, because your children want to come home.
Mm.
right? That's true. And then he's saying at a time when there was a lot of war and a lot of strife going on
Independent
the
struggles.
independent
Hmm.
struggle going on the continent. Um, but yeah, man, I think that it would be beautiful to see a unified like United States of Africa. I think somebody argued that I heard this idea and they said the reason why because African presidents don't want to be governors; they want to be presidents. And also that's a very simplified way of looking at it. But then again, you're looking at vastly like different communities and cultures that you're going to try to put under one umbrella. What the United States did was simplified it. It's black and white.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
It just became black and white. You know, so either you're white and you're going to be a part of this group, or you're black, you're gonna be part of this group, and then these other subgroups, Hispanics, which are actually larger in number, but Hispanics and other people,
Now they have them segmented.
right, and you're gonna.
White Hispanic, black
They
Hispanic.
do have that. They have white Hispanic and black Hispanic now, right? So it becomes a subgroup of black and white.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult task to think to have the United. It would be beautiful to have the United States of Africa, but it's something that has to. It's a diligent
Mm.
job, something that has to
It's
be just
work.
worked
Good work.
upon.
All
And
right.
I don't see the United States of Africa happening. The European Union is still working on their union. Didn't they have what do you call it?
Brexit.
Brexit. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We get stuck on language, physical appearance, language, nationality, cultural practices, value, class. True. Yeah. Somebody says, "Yep, it won't happen."
Mm.
Uh, Muammar Gaddafi was advocating the United States of Africa with one currency. They knocked that boy off.
Mm.
Boy, they knocked him off. You know. And I can't say that Gaddafi was good or bad because um, let's say talk about Gaddafi for a minute. So Gaddafi offered Minister Louis Farrakhan, the head of the Nation of Islam here in the United States, $1 billion to support the building of a basically a separate black nation in the United States. Uh, and the United States government would not allow Minister Farrakhan to take that money.
Mm.
Uh, so Gaddafi proved himself to be a friend of Black Americans,
Mm.
Black American Muslims. Let's be clear, right? Black American Muslims. But there are many people who had a very strong critique of his policies in Libya, and there were some people. I mean, look, we people can be complicated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was a complicated figure. He killed some people. He did some dirt. As well as he had the idea to give a billion people. Now, here's a critique of Minister Farrakhan. What do you think about this? $1 billion was offered to him, and the United States government said you can't take it.
Mhm.
Why did not Farrakhan? Oh man, I hate to do that to the brother.
No,
But why? I got to start it now. Why didn't the brother take the money and go to the continent? Do you know how many people would have followed Minister? Because this was not 83, 84-year-old Minister Farrakhan. This is Minister Farrakhan filling up Madison Square Garden, Minister Farrakhan. Like, this is hot, fire breathing Minister Farrakhan. This is I can get 1 million people together in one place. Farrakhan. Do you know how powerful it would have been had Farrakhan said, okay, cool, y'all won't let me take it here. I'm going to expatriate. I'm going to leave this country and I'm going to go here. And I'm going to then allow Gaddafi to help fund the building of a small black city, a small black nation within a place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that becomes complicated too because people be like, "Man, you coming to our land, take our land." But all things can be done right. So,
Mm-hmm.
I respect the government, Muammar Gaddafi. All right.
Yeah.
Let me see. Africans never use color or skin to identify themselves. That was put purely colonizers and slavers' idea. African, we only known by tribe or kingdom they came from. Uh, we are much more than skin color. Gaddafi was needed. The United Snakes of America destabilized North Africa by taking them out. Yep, tell your leaders to stay out of African business. Big facts, man. Look, I try to tell them stay out of black people business here. You telling me to tell her?
That's funny.
tell my leaders, man. Shoot.
That's funny.
Yeah, the United States of Africa is not workable when
Mm.
you have infrastructure and capital differentials at this level. See,
Mm.
that's stuff that we don't really look. Just look at how many millions are flocking to SA. A U.S. of Africa is not practical. United States is a U.S. is a settler nation. See, there's some
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
USA can be done, and I mean it should be conducted, especially when we all fix our countries individually. Yeah, so by the time we unite, almost all countries are in the same state of value contribution. See, those are profound things that Ezekiel is saying,
Mm.
right? USA and UK had Mandela listed as a terrorist. Big facts. Big facts. And then ain't it funny how they do that? They list him as a terrorist, and then all of a sudden they start celebrating him, years later. They turn around and
Mm.
celebrate him. Do you know that how the government under J. Edgar Hoover tried to destroy Dr. Martin Luther King? Right? Yeah, in fact, some people say they killed him, right?
Mm.
Then they turn around and give us a holiday and a McDonald's commercial. Isn't it strange how they do that?
It's
Matter
so
of fact,
strange.
when I was in college in 1999 or 2000, right? The United States government came out with a Malcolm X stamp. A Malcolm X stamp?
Yeah, that was
Black
that was
nationalist
right.
Malcolm X stamp? Do you know what Malcolm thought about the United States government? Do you know that Malcolm was probably turning over in his grave when the white government put him on a stamp? You see what I'm saying? Like, and people forget that when Malcolm, we see the famous speech of Malcolm saying, we declare our rights on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to
Yeah.
be given the rights as a human being in this society, in this day, on this earth, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary. When
Mm.
Malcolm gave that speech, that was post Mecca Malcolm. That wasn't Nation of Islam Malcolm. That was.
Said you old. You were in college in '99. I wasn't.
Big facts, man. I graduated college in 2002. I'm 43. I just look good. But but yeah, listen to Martin Luther King's Vietnam speech. All these right wingers would pass out because King was against the war. In fact, when King,
Yeah.
they told King to stop talking about Vietnam. You civil rights, Negro. You ain't supposed to come talking about Vietnam. And then when he moved from Vietnam, let me tell you what really got King into some trouble and lost popular. When the year before he died, he was like one of the most unpopular Americans in the United States. What King got King into trouble is when he said, I'm going to Memphis. Why was King in Memphis? King
Mm.
wasn't in Memphis organizing civil rights workers. King was in Memphis organizing the Poor People's Campaign
Yeah.
because Dr. King was a genius. He understood that the problems that poor Black Americans are facing are the same problems that poor white Americans are facing. And when the government heard this Negro was trying to get poor white people and poor Black people together, they said, we got to take him out expeditiously, real
Mm.
quick. Real quick. No, we're not about to let him start organizing poor white people and maybe get them to think differently and reject their whiteness. Because here's
Mm.
the strangest thing: poor white people embrace whiteness as their only benefit of privilege of the United States, right? Is that they can embrace whiteness. They still just as poor. There's a parish right here adjacent to Orleans Parish. It's called St. Bernard Parish. St. Bernard Parish is full of poor white people. Yet it's a Republican red area. They
Mm.
support the most conservative agenda, and they poor. You ride through their neighborhoods and their houses, and you just feel sorry for them because they're poor white people. Yet they support an agenda that is diametrically opposed to their progression, but they support that agenda because whiteness trumps even their own self. What am I looking for? Interest.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
What'd you say? You ready?
We've been on 2 hours.
Okay. Man, Stephen Biko, I wonder what our country would be like right now. Definitely. All right, family. So, 2 hours of us rambling. We thank y'all for
Yeah.
being on. We'll be back with another. Man, we working on some stuff. We working on some good stuff. There's some good people that we will be bringing on to interview and
Yep.
speak with. Yeah, some good people. So hold tight. We'll see some nice interviews coming up as it relates to some Black Americans in South Africa, some cool Black YouTubers, some Black folk who are maybe not in South Africa but who are truly invested homeowner and who are bringing people to South Africa, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we got some good stuff coming, and then March 12th, we will be on the ground in South Africa. So, family, holla at us, man. Look, I'm serious. If y'all know somebody who's interested in the professorship, I'll send you my CV because I think I'm going to. I'm thinking, what you say?
We should also do another meetup.
We
Well,
will,
we're
oh definitely,
there.
yeah. Well, we're going to definitely
The
do
meetup
another
was
meetup,
great.
man. The meetup was fire. But I mean, we'll talk about that closer. We got about a good month and a half before we do it,
Yeah.
but we'll do another meetup and meet up with some folk. Um, you know, we are diligently working to be there in June. And yeah, family, I won't ever do a video. I might not have did it started off, but I'm gonna do it right now. Never do a video without shouting out my South African family for all the love you guys have shown us and the support you guys give to this channel. It is truly amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, thanks for making South Africa great again. South Africa never was not great, especially since it's been
We
a
certainly
republic,
didn't make it
right?
great.
Since it was a republic. Denzel in June, yeah, in June I'm there permanently. Big facts. If I can get there sooner, Denzel, make some phone calls for me, Denzel. Tell people stop playing with my application, my Sakwa. Man, Sakwa, yeah, I don't know if y'all know about Sakwa. One of the next conference. We coming March. I don't know if y'all know about Sakwa, man. Sakwa Big Facts is slow. Man, I ain't never seen that, man. Sakwa told me, man, I put in my I ain't never seen that like that, man. I put in my application for Sakwa to review my PhD, to see if my PhD meets South African
Right. Which all
standards.
they have to do is like
All you gotta do is
verify that you were
call.
actually
Call the people.
earned a degree and that it's an accredited
Them white
organization.
people answer the phone all the time.
They do.
They will answer the phone. But I think what the immigration guy said, he said that the school will receive this email from the South African government and just be like, what? Because it's a very strange thing, I guess. And so the email would get ignored for a little while before someone actually responds. So there's if anyone ever responds.
He
and
said they don't follow up on the email or anything.
Somebody said Sakwa and Home Affairs laughing. Yeah, bro. So the Sakwa application said, man, expected completion date March 31st. But I put that in December. I ain't no mathematician, but I'm like, for real?
How can we help?
You know what I'm saying?
They can enlist our help. We're eager. How can we
Man,
help
listen,
push this?
I can tell my
project management.
I can tell my school call you.
Right.
What's your phone number? Let me tell these people call you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen nothing like that. The man said it said March 31st.
Just to check if it's an accredited institution and if they actually gave you this degree.
You can Google it. You can Google me.
Turnaround. That's a 24-hour turnaround.
Man, I never seen a Sakwa is out of control, man. So if y'all know somebody in Sakwa, tell them to stop playing with my application, man. Hook me up right quick. Who I need to call?
Right.
Gee. But yeah, so
who do we need to talk
but yeah, so that is but that's part of the process, yeah, that's part of the process. And then so that's why we're joining, because I anticipate that will be done in March, and then once it is done in March, then we're able to go ahead on and apply for the critical skills visa, and to be
that's
there.
Probably gonna be another.
Well, the immigration guy said that's 6 to 8 weeks, but that's reasonable because we got to go to DC, you got to sit for an interview and all that type of stuff. So that's reasonable. 6 to 8 weeks is reasonable. So that puts us there in June, and we could speed Sakwa up. Man, I may leave the country and boy, what if I could speed Sakwa up? The immigration, the other part, I experienced some delays with them too. Yeah.
Same delays.
Yeah. Sakwa was something else, man. But I have been thinking diligently about teaching at a university. So, um, oh, and another thing. So I got to reach out to some universities because the immigration guy is saying that if you get the critical to get the critical skills based on the PhD obtained in the West, that you would also I also need a letter from a um and he was like, there's no formal thing. You just need to find someone who will write a letter,
Write a letter of reference.
a letter of reference. He's like, I'm like, so the fact that I earned this PhD is not a letter of reference enough, So I gotta find
It has to
somebody,
be from a South African institution
yeah,
of higher
South
education.
or individual from a South African is like a professor. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start reaching out to some folk and get that squared away. So we got different little steps that we gotta do before we're there permanently in June. But that is the goal. Project management, as my wife just used, follow these steps, bop, 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 bam, bam, bam. And some things are out of control, like soccer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by essay grade again, I meant we had bad publicity. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But man, South Africa is like y'all on your ball. Y'all on the ball. Can we talk about Brexit next time? Definitely, definitely. But South Africa on the ball. You guys are, uh, if I say it, they're gonna say I'm, hating or whatever
Mm-hmm.
have you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say y'all my favorite South African nation. I mean
African nation.
African nation. Because if I start saying that y'all the best, they're gonna start saying, "Oh, you hating? Why you hating on Ghana? Why you hating?" I can't have an opinion, right? I can't say, but so I'll say y'all my favorite African nation. I don't want to disparage any other nation. Y'all my favorite African nation, and I do love other African nations. Don't get it twisted. You can't be Pan-African talking about you dislike certain nations or whatever have you. But yeah, I definitely think South Africa is my favorite. What else we got going? Your attitude is 100% an ego man from Nigeria. For real? And that's strange because they keep telling me I'm from. And I don't know if you're talking to me. Take a picnic basket. I suppose crazy institutions. Oh, I didn't mean to expose your crazy institutions, man. I'm just soccer just threw me for a loop. I didn't think it would take that long. I thought, that's something
Yeah.
that you would go,
Max a month.
a month. I would think is a bit much too, because the all they have to do is verify that I received the degree there and that the school is accredited institution, which is a Google search. Like boom, you can Google search that part.
Very true.
That's a Google
You
search that
really
part.
can, because every school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll have you go to the website and it has the accreditation tab and it'll tell you where they're accredited from and
Yep.
blah 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 blah. So at the next point, verifying if I actually earned the degree is relatively,
Really, I mean, we could do that just with a transcript.
the,
Like you
with a
can have an
transcript.
official transcript sent and done.
Bam.
Done.
That's it.
This
If they
is
want to
quicker
know,
ways.
if they want, yeah, if they wanted to know the program is listed online, or they can reach out to a head of the department to discuss how the program was, instituted or whatever have you. So, but they'll probably say, well, look, we got our ways of doing this because X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
propaganda. The world is jealous of South Africa's success. They're salivating for it to fail, so it can reinforce the idea that blacks can't govern. Hey, look, you're not lying. Don't worry, Isaac will come some baptism initiation for you. Yeah, some initiation for me. Yeah, yeah, get used to it. I got you. To show right back to us. Okay, but yeah, I think this is important before we go that they are looking for South Africa to fail because they want to prove that blacks can't govern themselves. Yeah, world class nation, a world class nation, and let's talk about this. It's a first world nation. Well, Dr. Asad, what are you talking about? South Africa is a third world nation. What is this determination? What does the determinations come from? Right? First world and second world were about like the Cold War, if I'm not mistaken. Who were aligned with what side of the Cold War? If you were aligned with the United States, you were first world. If you aligned with, I think, the USSR, if I'm not mistaken, you were second world. And anyone who was not aligned, which happened to be a lot of Latin American and African nations, they were not aligned with either side. They were considered third world. It had nothing to do with like development. It had nothing to do with economy. It had nothing to do with streets, and that came to identify that later. So then they switched from the first world, second world, third world paradigm to developed versus developing, right? And if you look at South Africa, is it a developing nation or is it developed? It is easily a developed nation, right? What makes it developing versus the United States, right? You have rural areas in South Africa, right? You have rural areas in the United States where there are no roads, right? You have major metropolises in South Africa fully developed. What makes South Africa a developing nation? And then they start setting these other bars. Well, it has to reach this in terms of a GDP and blah 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 blah. They do that to keep this stigma, to keep you labeled, to keep you in this box, right? To say that you're just not as good as these Western nations. Western nations have never had to identify themselves as developing, right? They've never had to prove whether they're a developing nation. When the last time you heard about a European nation falling from being developed to developing? Right? Just because they white, they automatically develop, man. So I'm right here. Dr. Asad said South Africa is a first world developed nation. That's how I feel. Because if you go by those definitions, or if you allow them to continue to define what we are and who you are, you'll never make it. And can easily hold its own. I mean, look at the scientific community that's right, so they can justify exploiting and reprimanding us. That's exactly right. They keep giving you these titles like subjugating you guys and all of Africa to make to in order like, oh, perfect, to reprimand you, to be able to check you and control you and then exploit you, right? Those titles and words, they don't mean jack. All that, oh, we're a third world nation. Third world? That's like me claiming the N-word. Don't claim that. Don't claim that. What else? Adrienne looks like she wants to go somewhere. We hungry too. Like Asad, go to Eastern Europe. You would be surprised how developed, undeveloped it is by Europeans. But they don't publicize that. Do you know there's like a famine going on in Eastern Europe that you don't ever hear about?
They're on the brink of war.
And they're on the brink of war. A famine, and they're on the brink of war. And Russia is having all kind of military maneuvers on different borders and stuff.
Ukraine.
Right? But they'll call that a conflict. They'll call that a conflict. They won't call it a crisis or anything, or maybe a crisis, a conflict, or whatever have you. But you let South Africa have riots for 2 days. Real facts. South Africa had riots like 3 months ago. They had some riots in South Africa. They're talking about the South African democracy falling apart. The United States had riots for an entire summer. In every state in the union, there were protests, and then they had some riots. They burned down stuff in Atlanta, burned down police stations. They were around New Orleans pulling statues down and throwing them in the river. And there was just protests. No one questioned whether our democracy is about to fall. These white people ran into the Capitol. I'm sorry. These white folks ran into the Capitol, right? And urinated and defecated on the floor, carried another flag in the Capitol, and occupied the United States Capitol. And no one ever said that the United States democracy was on the brink of destruction. But South Africa has a riot for 2 and 3 days where people were going in the stores, right? And all of a sudden, democracy is about to fall apart. The nation is falling apart. That's the way they paint the picture. And it's civil war, right? Rise for 2 days. It's civil war and ethnic cleansing, and they bring up the rest of the buzzwords. Exactly. Right. I'm based in CPT, but I want to say this. I get very inspired every time when I get to Joburg and other African Other African countries, example, Botswana, Uganda, Lesotho. How you say that?
Lesotho.
Lesotho. Whenever I see Black excellence, very scarce in CPT. All right, family. Adrienne's ready to go. We need to go get us some. Is we jumped on this live. It is 11:22. We're gonna get us something to eat and start our Sunday, man. It's always a blessing to talk to you guys. Ukrainians on Tylenol at the moment.
Thanks for
man,
tuning in.
You guys have a good one. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy lunch. Will do. And peace out. Y'all have a good one.